Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops and Detroit Bad Boys.
And I am Robbie Betalon, covering Michigan State for The Only Colors, and of course the Pistons for Detroit Bad Boys. Wes, I feel bad this time because I did not watch any movies this week, and I have
me either.
Yeah, I have nothing new to bring up, but I will say we started Ted Lasso, the new season of Ted Lasso.
Okay.
And I have thoroughly just enjoyed Ted Lasso in general as a very fun and feel good show, as opposed to going on Netflix and looking at all the murder documentaries and whatever else is on there. As much as I enjoy those, I love Ted Lasso as a good curveball to make me feel good at the end of the day. So I have nothing movie related, but Ted Lasso, big fan of Ted Lasso. That's all I got there.
With as much judgment as I can restrain, and hold within myself, true crime fan, huh?
Yeah.
Really? All right.
So the one that we watched most recently, I think there were 3 episodes. It was like a little mini series on Netflix, but it was about I think it was Idaho. I forget what school that guy who went into that college house, and there were 4 college kids in there that he was not nice to them, and but they found him. It was just a very, very well done documentary. And then also when we go on road trips, bunch of true crime podcasts are our go-to, hey, we got to kill 2 hours. Let's throw something on there. And I don't know why it's so interesting, but I do enjoy them. Not a true crime guy?
Comment. No comment. I'm leaving it. I'll leave it be. But speaking of crime, I mean, the only thing I finished up this past week was I'm a huge Batman fan. All right. So there's the basic there. There are plenty of photos of young Wes where there were multiple years in a row I was Batman for Halloween. I just didn't care. So I finished up Batman the Caped Crusader, the season 2 of that.
Okay.
And I don't know. Have you watched Batman the Animated Series?
So
some of the old stuff.
Way back in the day, I used to. Now it's only movies. I would put Dark Knight as probably one of my favorite movies ever. I may be making this up. Did you have a tweet one day that said the Batman was better than any other Batman movie that you had seen, the new one with Robert Pattinson? Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say there. I don't think that's a too hot of a take. I really liked that movie. I will say I will put The Dark Knight at the top of all Batman related things, but the Batman with Pattinson I thought was a fantastic movie. I like that they kind of embrace the darker side of it, but very, very well done. I really liked that movie as well.
Yeah, my point on that one is if you want to argue, if anyone wants to argue with me so Pistons fan 11, I really like Batman Begins. I like Batman Begins more than The Dark Knight as far as the Christopher Nolan trilogy goes. Okay. Look, if someone wants to argue, and anyone, feel free. I will never push back with you on this, but I think The Dark Knight, if you want to say that is the best movie, as far as movie standards go, that a Batman film has produced, I can't really push back with you on that. But as far as a Batman story goes, a Batman movie, I do think that Batman Begins was better. The origin story I thought was incredibly well done. But then the Robert Pattinson version is just a very, very good kind of comic animated series, accurate, more or less, take on Batman, and tells a fantastic story on it. I know it's just what is it, 7 and you're the true crime fan. What's the one that's unsolved out from California that everyone loves? Zodiac Killer. I know it's just a 7 and Zodiac rip, right? I get that. But when it comes together in that way, with Pattinson being a great actor, it ends up being a fantastic Batman specific story. And so I love it for that.
And I think maybe I like The Dark Knight so much because that version of the Joker, I think I would put in my top 3 of most favorite villains ever.
Immortal,
yeah. He's just everybody has their James Bond or everybody has their Spider-Man or whatever. my Joker is that Joker from The Dark Knight. And at that point, maybe I'm it's really more of a Joker movie than it is a Batman movie. But I agree with you that the Batman itself is like a great Batman overall movie. And I like the Penguin. Just the Penguin as who he is in that movie. I really enjoy. And I forget, I should know the actor's name. I think he's like Irish or Scottish or something, but he like had to put all the big, makeup and like
Colin
face
Farrell.
stuff on. Yes, Colin Farrell
For the Penguin. Yeah.
Good call.
But so you're not into the animated side as much.
No, if I had to do something animated that's also superhero related, it would be the Spider-Verse movies with Miles Morales.
Oh, those are great.
The Spider-Verse and all those. Really, really liked those movies. But I feel like I haven't gotten into like superhero shows. Like I know there's a ton with Marvel. There's Loki. There's Punisher. There's Daredevil.
Invincible?
Haven't seen that one.
Oh,
so on my show, on my show really side, on the show side, I might need to get into some more specifics to get deeper into the superhero world. But really, it's been just mostly movies, nothing show related.
Well, to put a bow on this before we get to kind of a wacky off the wall question that we wanted to start with from the DBB comments here, but if you liked all the Bruce Timm Batman stuff. So that'd be Batman, the animated series. That would be the Justice League and then Justice League Unlimited. If you like those three things, it's very similar. I don't think it's as good, but it's probably the best that we've gotten since then. There's a little bit of like it doesn't have a heart to it, and they want you to think that it does already. I kind of chalk that up to it's just being so early. They've really only done like 20 something episodes. And if you think back to BTAS, like that was one season, right? Like one season was 30 episodes back at the time. So they just haven't gotten to the volume yet. But I think the voice actor's doing a fantastic job. And I think I would love to hear more of his take on Batman. He's starting to, season one was just, he's trying to be Conroy. No one could ever be Kevin Conroy. That's the man, right? That's everyone's Batman. He was, if you've ever played the Batman Arkham games, Robbie, that's the voice. That's okay. Yeah. So, growing up, I did not realize as a kid that Batman with Adam West was corny. It's hilarious.
That's what I used to watch, like back when I was a kid.
Yeah, but it's hilarious.
Like the shark that bites his leg in the helicopter,
and he's got shark repellent.
Yeah, he came prepared.
The shark repellent. He's ready to go.
Yes, that is definitely what I used to watch. Those were funny. I'll check out the animated stuff though. I'll keep you posted if I get into that.
Highly recommended. Same bat time, same bat channel. Yes, absolutely. All right, this weird, wacky question that we got that we're just going to open the show with here. This is from Small Ball in the DBB comments. Says if each member of our team was magically turned into a song from 1964 to 1972, which song would they be? And we had to, if you guys are watching live here on YouTube, we actually, part of why we started this show late was to try and find song titles and artists from this time period. Because I don't think they could have picked a more random period here.
Very specific.
It's an 8-year stretch. Yeah, it's just bizarre. But Robbie, what do you got?
Yeah, if this question said, hey, just name any song from 1964 until 1972, I still would have been in the same boat struggling. So yes, had to take a look at Google beforehand. Small Ball, I apologize. I cannot get one to each member of our team, but I will give one summing up the team as a whole, and that will be I'm a Believer by the Monkees. Came out in 1966, is not just a song in the Shrek movies like I know it. Wes and I couldn't believe beforehand that it came out in 1966.
That cover was awesome, by the way. Smash Mouth did fantastic because they also covered the Hallelujah. That was good. Or no, it wasn't Hallelujah that they did. They did that was All Star. That they also had on that album. That was fantastic too. I've got both of those.
Big Smash Mouth guy? Is that what we're learning?
No, just literally those two songs. Yeah. That's it. No, but they're fantastic.
That will be my song from 1964 until 1972 because I'm a believer. I'm a believer in this team. I'm a believer in what they did this offseason. It seems like we are going into this summer or going into this season, um, surrounding Cade, Asar, and Duran with as much shooting that they've had in their careers. It seems like Asar and Duran are going to have more playmaking or on ball responsibilities, and I'm a believer in seeing it through. And maybe I will take that back once we reach February and we have to make a move at the trade deadline. But for now, I'm a believer.
All right, Pistons fan 11, Super Bad by James Brown for the team. I like that. That's a good one. I tried, look, small ball, I tried my best here. I could only think of really two. For Cade Cunningham, if we know some of the earlier Beatles stuff, how about Help? Classic Beatles song, Help, I Need Somebody Help, not just anyway, right? Get him as number two. Just to be clear, I don't fully believe that, but I figured that'd be a good one here for that. And then how about for Ibuka Corey? So Frankie Valli, Four Seasons, What a Night, right? I know it. So I know it references, I believe it's late December back in 63. So if that's December, you got to figure that they're writing it later. So I think it falls into the time frame. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got, Robbie.
Hey, it was more than I had. So some of these I might have to go to YouTube and look these up, get a refresher.
Four Seasons, that's good. If you ever, I don't know, are you much of a Broadway fan? I can't say I'm a huge one, but I've seen a few.
Oh, what was the fact that I can't even think? Presidents, King George.
Hamilton?
Yes, thank you. Loved Hamilton when it came out on Disney Plus. Really, really liked it. Listened to the soundtrack like crazy when it came out. Have not gotten into anything Broadway since that came out, but thoroughly enjoyed Hamilton.
Well, I'd just say Jersey Boys is probably worth a go. That's okay. It's good music. Usually they do a good job. Fun little story. We both actually had some thought experiments that we wanted to go through here before we get into some more of the questions we have pre-submitted. And of course, guys, if you are watching live, open floor, right? Ask whatever questions, like always, that you have. We'll pull those up. We'll kind of talk through those as we have them. But where do you want to go first? We both kind of prepped one of these, so I'll just throw it to you. You can introduce it, whichever one's calling your name.
Let's start with if the front office may possibly want to pay Asar more than Duran. And then you came back when I sent that your way, and you said, will they have to? And I think that's a fantastic question as well. The reason that I guess this kind of came to my mind was maybe like a week or two ago, Vinny Goodwill, Detroit native. I think he's working for ESPN now. I think he maybe was on the Hoop Collective with Brian Windhorst, or maybe he was doing a TV segment. I forget exactly where it came from, but he basically said, his impression is that some people in the Pistons front office may view Asar, I don't know what the right word is, like view him more highly than maybe they view Duran, or maybe they view him as more important than they view Duran. And so I guess the way that I look at it is like, I think they have an MVP offensive player in Cade Cunningham. They have a defensive MVP, a defensive player of the year in Asar Thompson. So on one side of the ball, you have your captain. On the other side of the ball, you have your captain on that side as well. And so it just made me wonder, because we are assuming that Asar is going to be extended after Duran gets paid. And is this, is part of the reason why this is taking so long is they are trying to get Duran at a number that is reasonable enough, but also low enough to where they feel comfortable maybe paying Asar a little bit more than they're paying Duran. And so here kind of has been my theory that I'm throwing around in my head. I think Asar is getting all 5 years. I think there's no question about it. I think they want to get him on the books as soon as possible, especially if he's expected to take on a bigger offensive role this year. Like, get him on the books for the next technically 6 years because he's still in his rookie year next year. Get him on the books for 5 years after his rookie year and get him as cheap as possible. So let's say if they're high on Asar, what if they want to pay Asar $35 million per year and give him that 5-year 175 contract? It's higher than I would have expected that. Like I think that's more than what Asar is going to get. But also, if they're trying to like help out JD, let's say they go the 3 years route and they give him a player option. So if he wants, he can get back into free agency, after 2 years or whatever. But let's say they give JD 3 for 100. So they're paying JD 33 per year. They're paying Asar 35 per year, where they're still very, very similar, right? They're still very, very close, but I guess all of this is coming from like, if Asar is viewed as the second most important player to some people, do they also need to reflect that from a payroll standpoint? This has kind of just been a conversation that I have been having in my head. And I guess I'm curious kind of what your thoughts are on all that.
Yeah. So, to me, I kind of confused me when this kind of broke from Vinny Goodwill, not because I think that's a wrong position to have. I think you could easily make the argument that the best perimeter defender in the NBA is the second most important player on a defense first team. Like, right. Yeah, I get that. But for Pistons fan 11, I think they still pay market value. That's kind of my sticking point. Like, the Pistons don't control the price that these guys are going to cost. They have some influence over it. They can come to both of these guys and say, hey, I'm only willing to give you this much. But at the end of the day, if like Jalen Duren could have gone out and found more, that would have put the Pistons in a bind, right? They probably would have just had to match that deal because they do want to bring him back. It just would have been at a price they were not necessarily at upfront willing to pay, but push come to shove, they would have had to, right? Same thing's going to ultimately be true with Asar Thompson. Like, you're not deciding the salary you're not deciding Asar Thompson's contract relative to the amount you're paying the other players on the team in terms of, well, I think he's technically better than this other guy, so he needs to earn more. It's more of I need to decide the contract he's going to get relative to what the 30 or the 29 other teams, right, are going to be willing to pay him. Because I just need to beat those teams, or I need to offer something else that's enticing to Asar Thompson or Jalen Duren, right? So for like, I know this is the middle of the offseason. There's nothing else going on. So I get it, right? Like, it's fun to have the comparative conversation like, oh, is Asar more important than Jalen Duren? And he might be. He might not be. It's a fun argument to have. But as far as the Pistons front office is concerned, Asar Thompson's going to cost a certain amount if you look across the league for the type of player he is, as long as nothing changes, right? If he comes up and next season averages like 25 points per game, obviously this changes things, right? But barring something unforeseen.
Then he won MVP in a season like that.
I mean, at that point, he'd be if that happens, like, he's the most important player on this team. Exactly. So like, barring something completely unforeseen, it's the question of, all right, a defense first wing that's a super athlete, what's that worth league wide? A offense first big who's got good chemistry with your point guard, what's that worth league wide, right? That's really the determinant here on the salaries. So if Jalen Duren thinks he's worth more than that, good for Jalen Duren. He's discovering he's not, right? He's not finding what he wants out there. Eventually he's going to have to come back to the Pistons and kind of wrestle with that, right? Asar Thompson's going to be the same way. Even now, if they're doing this early negotiation, like, that agent, you bet, is putting out feelers to other teams saying, hey, if we got to next summer, what would you offer? Like, yeah, that's how this all kind of works. So like, I don't care what. It's fun. It's fun to talk about. I just don't think that it's relevant necessarily to the negotiation. So to me, I fall back on that second half of this question, right? The will they have to. That's why that was my instinct. Right, you asked me over text. We should talk about does the front office want to pay Asar more than Duren? My response is I just doubt they have to, because if you look at defense first players around the league, they don't get contracts that even approach $40 million in salary right now. They get 30, slightly above 30. Yeah, so that's probably where he's going to end up. unless he doesn't sign an extension and they go to restricted free agency and suddenly he averages almost 20 a night. Well, then, okay, now it's different.
Hunter Patterson at The Athletic did an article with John Hollinger, and John briefly brought that up. Do you think there's any world that Asar goes into next season without an extension? Like, do you think they want to take it to restricted free agency? I guess that would mean that they heard something, right? His agent heard something like, hey, we'll offer you whatever amount that maybe. So Bobby Marks, I think, put Asar at 5 for 160, which is 32 per year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Slight raise over Jalen Suggs is essentially what that contract is.
Yes, because 5 for 150 was Suggs, right? So
I could see it getting up to 170 personally.
And I wouldn't like if it was a matter of, hey, I need 170 or I'm going to go to restricted free agency. I'm like, just take this, please sign right now. Yeah. So I guess I'm just like, from Asar's standpoint, I guess from his team standpoint, you would have to hear from some other team, I guess, that like, hey, we will beat that 170 some way, somehow, but then you can't offer 5 years. I don't know. I think they get everything done this summer, and hopefully Asar's is, shortly after we hear Duran's, but I don't know. I can't see a world in which Asar does not have an extension before media day in a month, in a couple days or whatever it is.
Well, it sounds like the Pistons want that, right? So I think that's the odds-on favorite outcome to occur. The only thing I can think of is, does Asar think, or does Asar or his agent or both of them think that with some more expanded offensive workload, right, if he can get his points per game average up to like 17 or 18, and then now he's an all-star.
Yeah, and a max player.
I mean, like if you want to take that bet on yourself, I could see that. But at the same time, it is at the end of the day the same conversation that we've been having.
You're turning down 170. Right? Yeah,
you're turning down 170, and then if you get hurt, it's gone. Like there's no getting it back, and now you lost the bet. So I'd still think that he probably goes ahead and gets the extension. But yeah, I like this from Pistons Fan 11. Who gets more for bragging rights between Amen and Asar Thompson? That could be interesting. I'd be curious to follow that one. I would. I think it's going to be Amen, but right? I don't know if Houston can. Can they? I don't know.
Oh, that's true too. At least Detroit, we know, has good books. Yeah, I don't know what the books looks like over on that side, but I would say Amen has a better offensive game, can handle the ball better.
He does.
So I'd think he'd get. But yeah, still to this day, it's only Wemby in that draft class who has been extended so far, I believe. I'm not sure if anybody else.
I believe so. I can't think of anybody else without pulling it up. So don't take our word as gospel here. I think I'm with you. Yeah.
Never take our word as gospel.
Oh no, Lord no. Let's try. Let's move to the other one. So non-star players, Robbie. All right, this is the question. Which non-star players, so not Cade, not Asar Thompson, not Jalen Duren, do you think could have the biggest impact on this Pistons season's success if they hit their potential? And then, of course, the follow-up is how likely is that to actually happen?
So when I first see potential, I think of young guy who's like making a jump, like a Ron Holland in his third year, kind of making a jump to be more of the player that we thought he is. But I am going to phone a friend here. I'm going to phone a friend, my Pistons Fan 11 friend. I think it's John Collins. I was down on the signing. I was down on him before he joined the team as just even an idea of somebody playing the 4 for this team. Since he's joined, I have done a complete 180. Doing a deep dive, I wrote a little article about how I think his fit, his play style should fit way better with this group than the way that Tobias played. I think I've said it before, but I remember seeing John Collins had 100 more attempts at the rim than Tobias did, and Tobias had 100 more mid-range attempts than John Collins did, and they both shot about the same number of threes. So this is where my math brain comes from, where I just like start thinking about efficiency, and I'm like, you need to be shooting a 3-pointer. If not, go dunk it. Like that kind of is how John Collins, his archetype, his play type. He's usually shooting corner threes, or he's trying to get to the rim, and stuff somebody. So I am buying the John Collins hype. I think he could get back to his Atlanta days of reaching like 17, 18 points per game. My biggest thing that I will need from him is I need him to shoot more 3-pointers, though. I think this only happens if he shoots more 3-pointers, to the point of like, I need him to get more than 5 per game. I know that he's never shot more than 4 per game in his career, in any season. So we'd be asking him to do something that he's never done yet in his career. Granted, playing around guys like Cade that can find him, playing around guys like Asar and Duren who are really operating inside the arc. They need a shooter at the 4 that is willing to get those shots up. So how likely is John Collins to hit his potential? I think it's lower than I want it to be. I'm going to put it at 40%. But if after the first 10 games, if he's shooting 5 threes per game, I'm going to put it at like 60 or 70%. I would just have to see, him in kind of this new role of kind of being more of a 3-point shooter. And then I'm kind of intrigued by like, do we use him as a small ball stretch 5, where he could, throw some different looks offensively to something that we've really never seen before in kind of this small ball stretch 5 look. So yeah, my vote here would be Collins. I'll put 40% that's likely to happen. So I think it's less likely than not, but still.
There's something I've been thinking about with John Collins a little bit, and I'm curious now since you brought him up. What would be your response to it? But so John Collins is more of a screen setting big. Okay, so like I'm really interested in the small ball 5 stuff too. I think that could be a lot of fun offensively with him, and he's got enough vertical pop to block some shots even in that sort of line.
Right.
So I'm curious. I hope that they do it. But offensively, one of the reasons I was not as excited about the signing was because really I was looking for the Tobias Harris replacement, right? Someone who could fill more or less the same role, so there'd be less change schematically in what was happening on the offensive side of the court. And John Collins just doesn't do that. He's a
right.
Pick and roll, pick and pop big. As I've kind of thought, so this is why I wanted Rui Hachimura, long story short. But as I've thought about it a little more, what would you think of some big to big screens with John Collins being the screen setter and Jalen Duren handling the ball? Let's just call it like true top of the key, right? Yeah. So right at the top of what would be the high school 3-point line. What would you think about seeing some of that?
I'm so in for any like quote unquote different kind of ball screens. Like I'm excited about Isaiah Joe, Duncan Robinson doing guard to guard screens for Cade, for Asar, for whoever. I am intrigued about that, especially if Collins pops or, and JD kind of can get a lane.
That's exactly where my head went.
Yeah,
oh my
where
God,
he can
right
dribble.
Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, I need, if the defense then ends up switching and Duren is then on a smaller power forward who then he can overpower and get to the rim.
And Collins popped, which gets the big out of the way.
Yeah. And then if that's
and now you can play some high-low even with Asar Thompson too if he cuts.
Yep.
Without rim protection. See, yep. you went right to where my head was at too.
Yeah. And if the 5 wants to stay with Duren, then if he's trying to protect the rim from Duren getting, then you have Collins back there at the top of the key for an open 3. I'm all for it. I think my pushback when it comes to Harris is if they are going to get some type of extra shot creation somewhere, I don't want it to come from like a 35-year-old post up Tobias Harris shot, I guess is my only. And again, this is where my math brain is coming from. Of
No,
just
it's
like,
more than fair. Yeah.
it's not a very efficient shot. Like Tobias Harris has
We
never
saw that in the
been.
playoffs, right? He
Yeah,
went
but
cold
he's been
there halfway through the Cavs series, and it
yes.
showed.
Prior to that, he, played the best
On fire,
ball of
yeah.
his career, right? With like 7 straight 20-point games, however many in a row it was. But like he was a like knockdown mid-range assassin during those 20-point days. And if he had to play at the top of his career in order for our offense to look somewhat normal as we're running it through Tobias as a second option, like my argument would be, hey, can we give it to Asar and maybe he can shoot one of those little like floating to the right mid-range shots that he likes? Is Duran maybe developing a little post hook or a little floater that we could give him that option of like, basically, I would rather give those possessions of, oh no, 8 seconds left in the shot clock. Let's throw it to Tobias and hope that he can do something. I'd rather give it to Cade, Asar, Duran, and see what they can do in this new look of a team rather than rely on, a Tobias Harris post up. But I do think it's going to be the biggest difference, I think, from last year to this year is not having that extra shot creation that Tobias did bring.
So that's a good transition too, because the first thing that jumps to my mind with this hypothetical, right? Which role player basically could have the biggest impact if they really, really knock it out of the park with how they play this season? And I'll admit, I think that this is the least likely that I could have possibly thought of. Okay, so I'm just going to throw that out there right now. I put this at like 5% chance. Okay, I really think that this is not going to happen. But if you're asking me if one guy could hit 100% of what he could be this upcoming year, I do kind of think it might be Ibuka Okori. The ability to just get to the rim at will in isolation in the half court and hit a league average from 3, which is kind of the high-end outcome you're talking about here. So if you've got a guard next to Cade that can not just take pressure off of him if they're really extending the defense up to the half court, but can actually punish the team that's trying to do that. Because if you extend up on a, quote, fully realized, unquote, Ibuka Okori, he's just going to go around you, right? Again, massive amounts of projection. If he can hit a catch and shoot 3 at, 37, 38%, and then be at like 35 overall to incorporate some off the dribble stuff. If the finishing around the rim goes up and the free throw attempts translate, and he's a big steal generator, which we know that this team schematically likes. They like chaos causers on defense.
Yep.
Like if he does all of these things, which again, to be clear, he won't. He won't. This is not going to happen.
5% chance.
But if he did, 5% chance. But if he did, I mean, that unlocks the offense, does it not? I mean, you can't, there's no guarding the Cade Cunningham pick and roll with 2 defenders because he can hit the catch and shoot, and you can just do the same action with a Corey on ball and have Cade off ball. Like it unlocks everything.
There's no trapping Cade because of a Corey's coming to get it, and there's 2 on Cade, and then you're playing 4 on 3 with a Corey having the ball.
Being a good playmaker.
Yeah.
Because he can make a simple read too.
One thing that I want to double down with what you just said is his field goal attempts. Not field goal, free throw. During the summer league, there was I felt like so many times where I felt like he got into the lane, he got somebody in the air or something and just didn't get the call that I felt like he would get in an NBA setting, like a real NBA game setting. So one thing that I'm very excited about with Okori at the next level is his ability to get to the line with his ability to get to the rim, but also just to be somebody who can draw fouls and provide some relief at that point for Cade. This is me probably getting too technical with positions again, but at that point, Okori's playing the 1, Cade's playing the 2, Asar's playing the 3. Like you kind of have that's your core guys in this world that Okori is hitting his ceiling.
Yep.
Is that not the three main guy? I mean, Duran as well, but those are your main guys moving forward. Then at that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, like again, this is. I just want to be totally clear. I do not intend to gas up Abuka Corey before he even plays an NBA game. Like again, this is like so unlikely to happen for a rookie picked at what was he at 19, right? Like, I mean, come on,
Yeah,
no, this isn't
17.
going to
Yeah.
happen. 17, sorry, 17. It's like no, this is not. I'm not. I would never bank on this happening. But if we could wave a magic wand and say the exact guy that you saw at Stanford shows up, oop, I almost knocked my mic, at scale, right, in the NBA, and then also can hit an off-ball catch and shoot three at a respectable rate. Like, all right, that you at that point, you pretty much have Luka and Kyrie. Like it doesn't matter who's point guard, it doesn't matter who's shoot guard. You just have two guards that can go break down the defense, get wherever they want, whenever they want, make plays for themselves and others. And you're just going to have them play off each other as high IQ guys and really thrive off of it. Like it'd work in the same way. It'd be nice.
So, new question for you: as you're somebody that's higher on Danis than I am. Are you at the same time?
Choice.
That's who I thought you were going to go with, based on how you were saying it. At that point, how does your 5% version of Abuka Corey differ from what Danis Jenkins can also do? Is it his ability? Is it like a Corey's more of his like playmaking, getting to the rim, kind of like more point guardiness that a Corey can do that maybe Danis is more of like a combo guy? Is that kind of what you're just comparing?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's point. Personally, I wouldn't say it's point guardiness. I'd probably say it's more like on balliness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Danis Jenkins, when he gets to the rim, and he's really aggressive at doing it, but when he gets to the rim, a lot of times it's off a pick and roll or off the catch. Right? He is a great rip and go guy. He's not a great rip and go finisher, but he's a very good rip and go player in that he can immediately take that advantage, gets all the way to the front of the rim, and tries to make a play from there. One of the things he really needs to work on is improving that finishing there. But again, you're kind of seeing this through line. Trajan Langdon likes these kinds of players that get to the paint, right? And Danis does that. The difference is Danis, like, you just don't want to ISO him. You don't want him to be the guy that you can just get the ball to and say, go make something happen immediately. I think he's good out of the pick and roll. I'd say if Danis hitting a ceiling would be, he's also probably a starter here. You'd want to tone down the scoring load expectation I kind of think where that would come. B-Ball Paul's a good one. I love B-Ball Paul, but I'm nervous. I'll just be totally honest.
Yeah.
With him as the backup.
Well, I think it's because we're so used to like Stu. I feel like so many Pistons fans wanted Stu to be a backup center and felt like that was his ideal role. And we finally got him in that for a few years. And, wasn't always healthy, but surely brought rim protection. We do not really have much rim protection nowadays, but to a point that you brought up earlier, I think we are getting away from being like a rim protecting team, and we're doubling down or tripling down on being like chaos causers. Similar to what you just said with the Corey, like can get his hands on the ball, is good at getting into passing lanes. So this is where B-Ball Paul differs from Stu in that Reed gets in the passing lanes. He has active hands, not much of a rim protector. He'll shine here and there, but it's like so many of these guys, Corey, Ron, Asar, Javante, B-Ball Paul, these guys that can come in and kind of throw some energy coming off the second unit. What I'm really excited about them on a team that does not have great spacing, a way to like help get around that is to force a ton of turnovers, get out and run, get out in transition, and get your buckets that way. And so I at least enjoy that Trajan is like still, there's kind of still an identity with this defense, and that they're still going to get all up in you. They're still going to try to force turnovers. They're a great team in transition. Frankly, I think they're only better now with throw Isaiah Joe in there as a transition shooter, throw John Collins in there as like another lob threat, a better finisher than Tobias. Like I'm at least excited about the fact that they're kind of doubling down on what this team has already done well, which is force turnovers, get out and run, play strong defense. But I get it from like you can't rely on Stu as the final guy, at the rim now. We really don't have that anymore. So I get missing that, but I'm also excited at the same time to kind of see what these other guys can do with more opportunities.
Yeah, and I think I've said before, like my nerves with Paul Reed are I think I've said it this way on this podcast. I can't remember for sure, but if a pitcher has a great changeup pitch, that's a game changer. It's awesome, but you don't want him to throw it every time.
Yeah, unless
right?
you throw it 40%
like
of the time or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like Paul Reed last year was an awesome changeup. If Stu went down, if Durant went down, if they just need a little extra energy, you could send in Paul Reed and it just kind of changed the flow of the game because the other team's not game planning for Paul Reed.
Right.
I'm worried, though, that now they're going to have to throw the changeup all the time. And then the fact that he's not a great rebounder, he's undersized, underweight, that's going to kind of come through. But to your point, this team schematically is defensively, I don't want to call them gamblers because it's not like, if you watch LaMelo Ball play defense, that's gambling. Okay, yeah. That's what he does to get steals. The Pistons don't do that. But when it comes to jumping passing lanes, when it comes to blocking shots, it seems to me that the position of the coaching staff is go for it, right? Like this is not a charge-taking team. They were near the bottom of the league in charges last year. The reason that they were so high in fouls given was because they go for every block that is within reason, right? Like they're not gambling on everything. They're not being dumb. But if Cade Cunningham thinks he's got a shot to line a guy up and block it, the coaching staff says, go do it, right? So I think that, the chaos causing, it extends to the shot blocking too, which to your point, really that defensive identity, I do think it still should track through, which should be fun, especially with someone as kind of helter-skelter as like a Paul Reed.
Yeah, the one thing that I'm excited about offensively is I forget who said it, but I thought Stu wanted to shoot more threes, and then this was part of like the dilemma of why he thought, when that Cleveland Game 7 was over, he thought it was his last game in Detroit. I forget who said it, but somebody said that Stu wanted to shoot more threes, and maybe JB Bickerstaff like wasn't about it or wanted him to be a pick and roll guy or whatever. I felt like Stu's best offensive weapon was his 3-point shot, and that was more so from the Monty days when he was playing the 4. And so I was always upset every time he rolled, especially when like the top of the key would be wide open if he would have just popped. And the one thing I am excited about is offensively, B-Ball Paul to me is so much more fluid, so much more like whether, we've seen him do Euros. We've seen him. I remember the playoffs. He had that like weird Dirk fadeaway. Like he's way more fluid than Stu is offensively. And so I'm excited about that. Like at the end of the day, I will be curious from like what he brings on offense compared to what he brings on defense, comparing it to what Stu brought on both of those ends. There's a world where I think it's even this season, where what you lose on defense from Stu to Paul, you're also gaining more from Stu to Paul on the offensive side. And so maybe that's now something I've just put in my head that I want to pay attention to this season is how the backup center, does it feel even at the end of the day based on the improvements on maybe the offensive side of the ball, but we'll see.
There are two hills that I'm willing to die on here, Robbie. The first is that on this Pistons roster, like any of them, take any of these players, right? Any of the players on this roster, the entertainment level when they get hot the tops of it for me are Paul Reed and Danis Jenkins. Like when Paul Reed gets going, that is must watch TV.
Yeah,
Same
the
thing with
whole
Danis.
team gets
Like
going.
Danis's stuff. Yeah, when he was right after the All-Star break and he went off against the Knicks, it's like that's fun. It's fun basketball. So same with Paul Reed when he starts whipping out the Dirk fades and like the Euro dunk out of nowhere. It's like, man, just give Paul Reed the ball and let him go. It's so fun to watch. The other one, ISO Paul, ISO B-ball Paul. My joke for the longest time was that part of why I loved Paul Reed his first year in Detroit was that when he played real minutes, that was Paul Reed. Like he came in, he did the dirty work, he rebounded, he played hard, he hustled, he went everywhere. But when Paul Reed checked into a game in a blowout, that was B-ball Paul. Like he got in there, he's putting up shots, and I just loved it. I loved the discipline of that, and that's really come through. It's been consistent for him. The other hill that I'm willing to die on, Robbie, is that I never saw anything from JB Bickerstaff that said he did not want Isaiah Stewart to shoot threes. Maybe like if Isaiah Stewart went off and said, and I didn't see it, but if Isaiah Stewart went off and said after this trade that like that was a mandate from the coaching staff, then of course Stu's right and I know nothing. But what JB Bickerstaff did say publicly was he wants Stu to be a big man around the rim. And if you remember when Monty Williams was here, Stewart's shot blocking numbers and rebounding numbers really went down. Yeah. So the first year JB said, Stu, you're a 5, rebound the ball, block some shots. And then once he started doing that and they kind of got that identity back into him, that's when later in the season and then now into last year, you saw the 3-point shots start to tick upwards. Still weren't as high as they were. But I think that was actually some nice coaching by JB Bickerstaff to me. Other people are free to disagree.
To add to your point too, I will say I feel like there were so many times where Stu did get the ball at the 3-point line and wasn't ready to shoot. You know, it's like he wasn't confident. He was like, oh, I could have shot this if I would have been ready. So the fact that, just to add on a little bit to what you said, the fact that he was not always ready to shoot when he had opportunities to shoot this past year, also just more evidence to support your claim there too.
All right, let's try to get through some of these a little bit more quickly so we could get to the fun little game we got here for the end. I pulled this one here. This was so Mr. Happy Mushroom from the DBB comments, but he is pulling the stat from, I believe it was Piston Powered, that blog, that fan site. Then you definitely go read it. They do good stuff over there too. But he said Duren didn't just fail in the playoffs. He was terrible in crunch time minutes last year, 45% field goal percentage, and then brought up some strength of schedule stuff. And there's both something to it and, in my opinion, not much there. But so if you go to Basketball Reference, you pull up the game score, right? So you sort highest game score for Jalen Duren last season. His best was against the Cavs, so that doesn't quite fit. But then it's New Orleans, Washington, Dallas, Indiana, Brooklyn. Then OKC, so that doesn't quite fit. Then Memphis, that does. Toronto, those a good team. Phoenix, a good team. Portland, a good team. Then we're back to Brooklyn, not good. Utah, not good. Atlanta, very good. Spurs, very good. Sacramento, bad, and that's the top 16. So to me, that's a nice mix. But what do you think here on this one?
Yeah, I'd be curious how many attempts he got in crunch time, or also what is crunch time? Is that the last 5 minutes if the game's within 5 points or something like that? I'd have to.
If it came from NBA.com, I believe that's the definition. I do believe that's the definition.
So I'm relating this to my comment from Tobias Harris earlier, where I didn't want Tobias Harris being like, I don't need mid-range post-ups from Tobias as our second option on offense. I also am not relying on JD to be the clutch guy when Cade Cunningham is on this team, when, Danis Jenkins even has some clutchness in him. We've seen him hit some big time shots, but crunch time, clutch time, whatever you want to call it, I need the ball in Cade's hands. I got to assume that whatever. I'd have to look more into those stats, but I would assume the sample size is not very high. I can't imagine, JD has a ton of field goal attempts in crunch time. And so I guess I'm kind of like, I don't know. Am I getting just sick and tired of talking about JD in the playoffs and like poor,
we both probably are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, honestly, with the strength of schedule thing too, Robbie, it kind of, I'll just be totally honest. It kind of blows my mind a little bit that like, why is this a bad thing? Okay. So like, if you pull up Cade Cunningham's best game scores, there are a lot of bad teams mixed in there too. What is bad about having players that beat up on bad teams?
Yes.
Like that's how you win 60 games. And like, you need guys that do this. You need someone that can just consistently go and beat up a Washington Wizards before they go and trade for Trae Young and AD. Like, I mean, someone has to, right? So like, why is it bad that it's this guy doing it? I don't quite get it.
I remember I was watching an episode of Game Theory and Sam brought that up about a Jalen Duren.
Yeah, he
thing.
started it.
Yeah, where it was good
stuff, but
he played well. Then I'm like, he played the Wizards and he had 33 and 15, and it's like, yeah, but he played the Wizards, and it's like, I want a player that can put 33 and 15 against anybody. I don't care who he's playing. 33 points and 15 rebounds from a guy that doesn't shoot the ball is awesome. That means he had 6, 7, 8 dunks in that game. That's a good, yes, good players.
According to Basketball Reference, the best game that Cade Cunningham played last year was against the Washington Wizards.
It doesn't count. It was
when
against
no
Wizards.
one else was there, right? That was the game where it was like Cade and nobody, because everyone was hurt, and he shot like 50 shots.
Yeah,
something like that, right? And it's like, that's his best game score on Basketball Reference, which itself should tell you a little bit about game score from Basketball Reference.
Yeah,
but regardless, like, I guess we can't count that.
Yeah,
I guess his really nice game against the Brooklyn Nets just doesn't matter.
I share your opinion I'm the same way. Good players should be good against bad teams. They should be good against good teams. They should be good against bad teams. I don't care who it is. If Cade's going to drop 40 on somebody, I think it's as legit if he was playing the Wizards or if he was playing the Spurs. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, and I don't even mean this as like a we need to defend Jalen Duren thing. This is just, I think, a good, that's just what the NBA is. Like you said, you have to beat up on bad teams to be a good team. So that means your players are going to play better against bad teams. Like, yeah, duh. But I think even the fact that like last week, right, we got the Order of the Blazing Horse guys on, and one of Harry's points was, hey, remember back to in the regular season when we played the Spurs and we all were kind of sitting there going like, is Jalen Duren the key to beating the Spurs?
Yeah, just
I think the Spurs were pretty good, right? So clearly he played all right against one good team, and I think if you go to Basketball Reference, you'll find plenty of others. To me, this is nothing. And I'd be saying the same thing if it was anyone else on the roster too.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm.
Let's get to this from Ramester in the DBB comments. How important is shooting to the Pistons half court offense, and are we sure secondary playmaking and bucket getting is a primary issue for the team?
Yeah, I love that second question because Ramester, I am not sure that secondary playmaking and or bucket getting is the primary issue. And again, I am going to keep driving the Asar Thompson hype train. I want Asar to handle the ball more. I forget who commented. I saw a comment of somebody, have you seen the runs with Cade, Asar, those guys going up against Boozer? Yes, Ollie B, thank you. Yes, I have seen all those. And do they make me excited every single time? To the point where I'm probably irrationally getting excited? Yes.
How could they not?
They do. Yeah. But I like in a short answer, the Asar that I am seeing in these runs on these videos, these clips that we're seeing on Twitter or YouTube or whatever, I want to see what percentage of that Asar that we can get in the regular season. Is it 80% of what we're seeing in those clips? I would love to see that. So I'm not sure that the primary issue is secondary playmaking. To his first question with how important is shooting to the half court offense, I think a ton, but Trajan checked off those boxes. To me, as a guy who is, I feel like, way more biased to the modern game into 3-point shooting, and I like value that among anything else. I think like I think we have a satisfactory level of 3-point shooting now, especially surrounding Asar and Duran. So I'm not sure that the primary issue was secondary playmaking. And to his point, to Ramster's point, I would argue that it was shooting that was the primary issue, only if that means the secondary playmaking can be taken on by Asar, can be taken on by Duran, and maybe this is cheating because he technically wasn't on the team last year, but also a Corey. How does a Corey look with some playmaking opportunities? And then, I mean, I'm trying to get the ball in Asar's hands as much as possible, in JD's hands as much as possible. Let these guys continue to grow their on-ball game with way more shooting around them. So, Ramster, I'm not convinced that secondary playmaking was the primary issue. What about you, Wes?
So I think the was versus is a good split, because if we're talking at the end of the playoffs, I'm with you. I'm thinking it was probably shooting. If you're talking about right now, like if the biggest hole on the roster right now, looking ahead to the regular season upcoming, I'm pretty sure it's playmaking and bucket getting. I really am, because like you looked at like John Collins. Good shooter. Cade Cunningham, we could say that. Good shooter. Javonte Green, percentage-wise, especially from the corners, good shooter. Gary Harris is still there right now. We don't know if he will be in the future. But Kevin Huerter, even on his bad days, league average shooter, right? He's sitting at like 33 to 36 on the downside recently. That's still a pretty good shooter, and he's guarded like a guy who can shoot.
Has the gravity. Yeah, has the gravity.
Yeah, has the gravity.
Yes.
Exactly. Danis Jenkins shot it real well from three last year, especially off the catch. Isaiah Joe, great shooter. Arguably best shooter on the team. It's him or Duncan Robinson, right? You can make the argument, in my opinion, for either. Chaz Lanier probably won't play, but we saw it. Good shooter. Torian Prince, he's got a shot to play. Great shooter. Paul Reed, as far as the center goes, can space the floor. Halfway decent shooter. And now I'm getting to Duncan Robinson. Like, they have shooting. They absolutely have shooting. The question is, do they have someone who can handle the ball? And by handle the ball, I mean make an advantage in a phone booth for themselves or someone else on the team right now. And I think you like to answer that question. Cade, for sure. Danis and a Corey, maybe. They're probably the safest bets.
I would agree.
And then it's two guys that we just don't know in Asar Thompson and Jalen Duran.
Yeah,
both of those guys for different reasons. Yeah, are at varying levels of haven't proved it yet. Like Asar's struggled in some ways, has shown some flashes in others. So Asar Thompson, if you're looking for the positives, to me, just watch him in transition, looks great, right? So hey, if you can translate that. For Jalen Duran, if you want some of the positives, look at his like mid-range stuff, right? When you get the ball there at the elbow or elbow extended around the key. Like, that looked really good. So you want to say, hey, that'll translate. Then great. You know, you got something to believe in. But both of those, it's tiny volume. It's just not there. They haven't really proven it. So to me, if you say, hey, Wes, point to someone on this roster that there's 7 seconds on the shot clock, the defense is trapping every screen, and you need to go get a bucket. Last year was Tobias Harris. This year, God, I hope it's Jalen Duran.
I was going to say, right now, I think it's JD, and he tries to muscle his way to the rim, and we hope for the best.
That's the only answer I have, because do I want to hand it to the rookie 17th overall pick? No. Do I want to hand it to Danis Jenkins, who struggled around the rim, and also at mid-range pull-up jumpers? No. Right? Like, these are things he could do better, but I haven't seen it yet.
So many of those names, so many of those guys that you named, I feel like are play finishers, right? Like a catch and shoot guy or catch a lob and dunk it guy. And so they're, perhaps I was answering this question from like the beginning of the offseason and not the end of the offseason. But I also think that's a question we can revisit, in February of like, okay, is this still an issue? It is still an issue. All right, time to consolidate and let's go get a guy finally next to Cade. That would be.
I like this from Michael Dompier. It says maybe Danis is the third of these players that like you
Which
just
is
hand
rough.
the ball to, which is rough. And then he says, and I like Danis. And that's pretty much where I'm at. Like, I think there's a world where Danis starts. I'm a big fan of Danis Jenkins' game. I think he's a good player and he can do a lot of nice things on the floor. But if you're saying, like, are you really confident in that situation if you got to give him the ball and something's good's going to, it's like, no, I'm not. I think he can improve and do it, but he has to improve to do it, and we haven't seen it.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a mess.
Right.
But they're still super talented. So with the last 10 minutes here, you got it. Let's do it.
Are you ready? Also, chat, you're more than welcome to chime in on this little game that we are going to play. But since we are in the dog days of summer, I proposed this idea to Wes. I was like, hey, Wes, what if you and I drafted our own versions of our own Pistons team, all-time version? Wes, you and I will draft. We made a list on the side over here that you guys can't see, but we will draft our versions of what we think would be the best versions of an all-time Pistons team. So we are going to make a starting five. Chat, if you want to chime in and help us out as we pick our starting five, feel free. But any Pistons player ever, Michael Dompier, if you want Cade to play small forward, you can do that. This is your team. You're allowed to do whatever you want.
Put him at the 5. Who cares?
Put him at the 5. If you want to pick somebody that maybe was only here for a year or two but made a difference, feel free. If you want to pick someone that's a Pistons legend, feel free. I think we can define why we wanted to pick those players, and we can justify it every time we pick somebody. But Wes, I think you should start with the number 1 pick of our
Jeremy Grant. No, I'm kidding.
At point guard.
Yeah. Jeremy Grant at point guard.
All right.
No, all right. I'm honored to have the first selection in the inaugural Pindown Pistons all-time draft, and I am going to take Grant Hill, and I'm going to put them there at the 3 spot because you know what, his peak is arguably. This is still before my time, so I never watched Grant Hill myself. But from what I understand and what I can see, Grant Hill's peak is arguably the best individual basketball player the Pistons organization has ever had. Vinny Goodwill has said that was LeBron James before LeBron James. So I am taking Grant Hill.
And I do love how much Cade is compared to Grant Hill as well. That makes me happy.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, I thought you were going this route, and so because you didn't take him, I will have to take him. But let's take Zeke, the legend. We have a Zeke behind us. We have a Zeke on the board. I'm just going to go with perhaps the best point guard in all of Pistons history until Cade Cunningham finishes his career. I will take Isaiah Thomas.
I like it. Yeah, so as Pistons fan 11 says, that is my kind of prototype of or archetype of player that I do very much enjoy. So kudos on Pistons fan 11 to remember last week's show. Yeah, he knows now. He knows what I like to watch. But is it too early to just go with Cade? Like, is that crazy, Robbie?
No,
genuinely, let me ask you: is this crazy to say Cade Cunningham here with the second pick?
It's all about what. I think it's how you want to define it. I also think, Cade's versatility plays into this. I think, I do not think it's crazy to take Cade Cunningham here. And I also think there's a little bit of projection here, we know he's on his way to winning MVPs. We hope that he's winning a ring at some point. I don't think it's crazy if you take Cade in this spot. And that he's on a team with Grant Hill.
Yeah, exactly. So Michael Dompier says that Cade would be above Grant Hill to him. And honestly, I'm close. I think that the difference is just that Cade hasn't been around as long. Yeah, what we've seen the last 2 years, especially last year out of Cade, I mean, I know I'm young and we're both pretty young, but like that is far and away the best individual basketball player I've seen in a Pistons uniform in my
I agree.
lifetime. So that
Yep.
goes back to the going to work team. Like, if he keeps that up, if he's a Piston into his mid to late 30s, maybe even a lifelong Piston, you win a championship somewhere in there, like he's going to have, to me, an argument of like potentially best player to put on the jersey. Yeah. So screw it. Give me Cade Cunningham at point guard, and I'm just going to have two like 6'8" guys, right? That are just, they can dribble, they can get their own shot, they can pass and play make. Either of them could be the point guard. Either of them could put you on a poster. Both of them are good defenders. Like I'm loving the versatility here. I think that's what I'm going for.
All right, with my second pick of the 2026 inaugural Pindown Pistons draft, whatever it is that we're calling it. All right, I got to pair them together. I can't not pair them together. They played together.
The GM, huh?
They're going to play. Yeah, we're not going to talk about anything that he did after.
Hey, he brought a championship to Detroit. Come on. He deserves his flowers. We don't need
I'm going to draft the New Orleans. What is his title over there? I don't know what it is. Yeah, we're going to keep
runner-up show. That's all I've got.
Runner-up show. We're going to keep Isaiah and Joe together. I am going to take Joe D with my second pick.
Are you worried at all about the size here?
100%.
And then I think there's a separate question that I've got too that I want to ask, because both of us have done something interesting to me. But go, yeah. Are you worried about the size?
Yeah. Immediately, I'm like, who's guarding Cade at this point? I mean, I put Joe on him, but then I don't. They're both small. Yeah. Let's compare 5v5 afterwards, and we'll see who we think would win a game.
All right. So the other thing that I'm looking, thinking about this right now. So we've made 4 picks. We got Grant Hill, Isaiah Thomas, Cade Cunningham, Joe Dumars. No bigs.
Not yet.
Is that just us being too modern? Is that what's going on? Because like historically, Pistons, like Bob Lanier, wasn't Dave DeBusschere a big? Like I think got some big names in their history. Bob McAdoo, I think. No, maybe not. I don't know. They've got a lot of bigs.
I think if I had to pick, if I would have guessed out of our first 4 picks, 3 people that would have gone, it would have been Isaiah, Joe, and Cade. Not Isaiah Joe. Isaiah
Joe next on the list.
Yeah.
You haven't realized what's going to happen this upcoming season.
I hope we can draft him
in this conversation. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. Should I end? I got to be strategic here, because I want to beat you when it comes to the 5v5.
Yeah, we can play some matchup game. Who's matching up with who?
You know what? Ben Wallace.
I want Big Ben. Pick. That's who I was going to pick.
Oh, let's go. I thought so. I thought you were going to go there. I wanted to beat you to it. So, all right. I got Big Ben.
Oh.
So now I'm locking down. Look at the defensive versatility here, Robbie. Come on. Cade Cunningham, Grant Hill, Ben Wallace. I know they're all the same height, but gosh darn it, that's some promising defense.
Everybody's 6'8". Oh no. All right. Do I save center now?
The chat wants you to get Dennis Rodman here for defense. We've seen a couple of those. Which, I mean, there's an argument. There is. The worm, right? I mean, the trick with this too, sometimes I think with these all-time drafts is like, we're trying to maximize the player when they were in the Pistons jersey. Because otherwise, we're taking Allen Iverson and Tracy McGrady and we're excited about it, right? But like they weren't great in a Pistons uniform. So like Rodman was really good, but wasn't he better for the Bulls? Am I making that up?
No, I think that's fair. But the chat is starting to convince me right now, especially because if we're dealing with a little 5v5, I need some matchup help. I need some defensive versatility. I'm just ending up with the late 80s team at this point. Let's take.
Hey, they won 2 back-to-backs, so there's no problem with that.
This is a good strategy at that point, right? Yeah, all right, we're going to follow chat. We're going to take Dennis Rodman. Also, seeing Ben Wallace on one side, Dennis Rodman on the other, that's really, really fun.
I'm going to do something fun here, Robbie. Player who, when they were with Detroit, near and dear to my heart. I loved watching this individual player when they were with the Pistons. They kind of saved the team for a little bit there. Made it interesting to be a Pistons fan again for me in my college days. Give me Blake Griffin.
Dude,
Give me all NBA third team Blake Griffin with this group.
I love the
Give me that. Because you know what he gives up on defense, I think Ben Wallace especially, but even Grant Hill's got some versatility to go up a spot if we need to. Like if I got to put Grant Hill on Dennis Rodman, that's fine. But I think I can just run away from Dennis Rodman and put Blake Griffin on him there. So I don't have to worry about it. But now I've got 3 guys that can dribble, pass, shoot, get to the rim, and create their own shot. All of these guys were all NBA teamers, right? I mean, I love Blake Griffin's fit here. I'd be a little worried though about can he really be the third option here? But also he was even a good lob threat that year. So I'm in. I like Blake Griffin.
Yeah, that whatever year that he had his career year here, I think I will still to this day go back and watch Blake Griffin highlights of that season.
That was the best Blake Griffin in his entire career.
It was the best season he had.
Throw in any of the Clippers stuff too. That was peak Blake Griffin. A shame that it ended that way.
All right, I'm going to pick this player next. One, because of the matchup, it's just an amazing pairing for who he will have to guard on your team, and with Dennis Rodman's inability to shoot on the offensive side, I'm going to need a big that can shoot. And he was the missing piece that the 04 team needed, and he became
that's not where I thought you were going.
The heart and soul of the going to work team. And I am going to put Rasheed Wallace as my big to guard Ben Wallace and to be our stretch 5, even though maybe he played the 4 a little bit more. You know what? We can play Rasheed. We do. We have the need for Sheed on this team, and I needed a big next to Rodman that could space the floor. So I love that big man pairing.
Wouldn't it have been? I mean, obviously this is only things you can do in 2K, but wouldn't it be wild? Isaiah Thomas, Rasheed Wallace, pick and rolls.
Yes, I almost went Liam Beer. I almost went Liam Beer.
Bill was an early pick and pop guy too himself. He had a little bit of a 3-point shot, but Rasheed Wallace maximizes that.
Yeah, I looked beforehand because I was like, okay, Bill shot it a little bit. Like, how many times did he shoot? And it was 1 3 per game, which I think is just hilarious. But that's what play was like back then. But yeah, him considered as a stretch big, Bill, after shooting 1 to 2 per game, I thought was hilarious.
It was early.
It was.
She's also had the mid post ISO. He's just money.
He can be in my. Oh, there's 8 seconds left in the shot clock. Get it to Sheed in the post and let's let him hit his fadeaway.
No, I mean I got 3 of those guys, but that's what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
All right. I'm happy that I was able to leave this for the end after you picked your 2 guards, because I figured that would take this player off of your books. But if I'm picking a all-time Pistons starting 5, I have to put in my favorite Piston of all time, the Piston that made me a Pistons fan. No, not Rip Hamilton.
You got Rip Hamilton with the mask.
I did wear a mask though when I played, guys. That is true. When I played basketball in college, I did wear a mask. But it's not Rip Hamilton, because the guy that made me a Pistons fan, the player that I always wanted to be growing up, was Chauncey Billups.
Okay,
and that's why I can't do it. I can't put any team together here without that guy, Mr. Big Shot. Talking about, last 8 seconds, need a bucket. I don't care about this lineup. I'm going to Chauncey. That me personally, I'm the coach. Get him the ball.
Give it to Mr. Big Shot. That's the play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But another point guard, right? Dribble, pass, shoot, and a very, very good defender for his position. I'd take him over Rip Hamilton for that. And that's kind of where it was going. I thought a little bit about a Dave Bing maybe, but I just ultimately give me Chauncey. I can't do it. He's the man.
All right, to round up our
gambling issues
draft,
notwithstanding.
Yeah. This was before he started all that. All right, Pistons fan 11 is already on to me. He's already guessed where I'm going here, but this is a nope. Other way, Pistons fan, other way. I am thinking about this pick strictly from a matchup standpoint to guard your 5. And if I need a small forward, who none other, I think this was his nickname when he blocked Reggie Miller, the long arm of the law, Mr. Tayshaun Prince, the Prince of the Palace.
Prince himself. Yep. George great nickname there for him.
I need versatile defenders to guard the size of your team. Nobody else more versatile than Mr. Tayshaun Prince. So for our audio listeners, Wes has finished with Cade Cunningham, Chauncey Billups, Grant Hill, Blake Griffin, and Ben Wallace, while my team is it's not as good as Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Tayshaun Prince, Dennis Rodman, and Rasheed Wallace.
That's where you're wrong.
So, hey, here's what we need to do. Chat, guys in the comments. Leave us a comment on Spotify and YouTube. Chat, you can leave your comments here.
In the story
when
on
we
DBB.
post it. We want to know what you guys think. In a 5v5 game, who brings home the trophy between my team and Wes's team? We will let you guys argue about that in the comment section.
Robbie, I don't want to break your heart, but Michael Dompier brought up something here that made my heart skip a beat a little bit.
I didn't even think about a SAR.
Tayshaun's the right pick, Michael Dompier says, but I'd pay to watch Asar Thompson and Dennis Rodman play defense, and oh boy, would I pay to watch.
I agree, but then I got 2 non-shooters in Dennis and Asar, and That's true too. I wouldn't have been able to do it. Pistons fans says 8 rings over 2 rings.
It's a good point.
If you want to count it by rings, feel free. I'm happy to.
It's a great point. It really is, because I mean you got Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. That is the Pistons backcourt, right? I mean, if you're talking all time for each position, I know what we said about Cade Cunningham, but he's got to do a career to get into that, right? And right for now, it's Thomas and Dumars. That is the Pistons backcourt.
Yeah. Happy to have that pairing.
Got to give you credit on that.
Yeah. All right, I'm excited to hear what everybody thinks.
I think I win.
You
guys let us know. Well, you're supposed to, and I'm supposed to. But you guys let us know. We're going to look forward to reading through that. You know what? I might see if I could put a poll out. We'll figure something out. We'll get a voting down.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Throw it out on Twitter. But we'll bring it up in the next show and get you guys' opinion on who won here. But I think with that, we got to Pistons fan 11, the backcourt that beat Bird, Magic, and Jordan. Yeah,
I know whose team Pistons fan likes a little bit more. Huh.
And you can't argue too much with them. I mean, these are all-time players. They're almost all Hall of Fame.
Both teams are great.
Yeah. But Robbie, I think we got to call it there. It's the off season. We've gone somehow almost another hour and 20 minutes. I'm proud of us. We keep giving you guys some good length episodes here to help get you through the lazy month of August. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And with that, I think that we got to close it out.
Yeah, chat, before you head out, be sure to like and subscribe. If you guys are watching this a little bit later, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment whoever you think. We want to hear whose team you guys think is better. But we did not get any voicemails this week. If you want to leave a voicemail, call 313-355-2717. A big thank you to Sean Korp, our managing editor over at Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. Shout out to you guys for contributing with our game and with your great questions tonight. We will catch you next week, whether on your commute or live with us on YouTube. We cannot wait to talk more Detroit basketball with you.